You're watching Truth versus Hype. We've come to the stunning city of Edinburgh in Scotland because what has happened here in the past 24 hours has eclipsed even David Cameron's unlikely return to second term as Prime Minister of England. Here, the Scottish Nationalist Party, an openly separatist party that wants independence from Britain, has swept the elections, the first time ever in history. Now, we've just been here for a day, so that's not enough time to understand the nuances of all that's unfolded here. But over the next 30 minutes, we'll give you a glimpse into the roots of that grievance which powered this result, whether it's genuine or not, and also about the fascinating world of the SNP and its politics, starting off with our journey to Queensferry, which is about half an hour east of Edinburgh, where the very charismatic Nicola Sturgeon, who led the SNP to victory, met with her newly elected MPs. So we're here in Queensferry at this lovely location where you have this historic rail bridge, and this is where we're going to have very shortly a celebration of the SNP's remarkable victory. All its MPs are going to come here and be felicitated in the presence of their leader, Nicola Sturgeon. I'm joined by some SNP supporters here who've been telling me they've been working very, very hard for this victory and haven't slept a wink, I'm told, for the past 24 hours. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
But tell me, in your wildest expectations, did you think this was going to happen?
No, not at all. To get 30 seats would have been a remarkable achievement. To get 56 is beyond our wildest dreams.
In fact, Nicola Sturgeon tweeted when the exit polls came out saying that, look, 56 looks unlikely. But that's what it turned out to be.
Yeah, that's right. She was being very cautious about her predictions, but it's just been an amazing journey for everyone, I think, that's been involved in it, and it's just been a joy to watch.
Now, but tell me, you guys, it just literally came out of nowhere. Tell us about the campaign. Was it a very, a volunteer-driven? Were you all volunteers, by the way?
Yes, all volunteers, yeah.
What do you do otherwise?
What we've done during the campaign?
No, just your day job.
Oh, day job. I work for a drainage company.
Drainage company?
Yeah.
I'm a self-employed electrician.
I work for a lawyer's office in Edinburgh.
I'm a taxi driver. Not working today.
All right. And all of you, and they were just like you, there were just thousands of volunteers.
I think that the local party went from 200 members to over 1,200 members since September. So the groundswell has been there, and people have listened to the message, and this is the result.
This is the result.
This is the result.
I think with the SNP they've given out the message of hope and that things can change, and they will, if we put the work in and we get out there, and it's paid off.
And Nicola Sturgeon, big star.
Can't even describe how brilliant.
She's an inspiration for all women everywhere, and for everyone who just, I don't know, I feel quite emotional about her at the moment. So, and for there's such a swell of women in the party that just have a loud voice now, and it's just so important. She's an inspiration and gives us hope for the future.
So this is the moment that sums up this historic victory here in Scotland. Nicola Sturgeon, leader of the SNP, taking the stage with all her MPs in the background. A victory that many people here we spoke to say that they cannot have anticipated. But let's now listen in to what she has to say.
I am absolutely delighted, bursting with pride even, to introduce for the very first time as one assembled group the 56 men and women elected on Thursday to make... The people of Scotland have spoken. And the people have placed their trust in the SNP to represent Scotland at Westminster as well as at Holyrood. And just as voters in almost every part of this nation of ours chose the SNP, our pledge is that these 56 SNP MPs will represent the interests of all of Scotland. Let us be very clear. The people of Scotland on Thursday voted for an SNP manifesto which had ending austerity as its #1 priority. And that is the priority that these men and women will now take to the very heart of the Westminster agenda. Now, after Thursday, and as I told the Prime Minister when I spoke to him yesterday, it simply cannot be, and it will not be, business as usual when it comes to Westminster's dealing with Scotland. Scotland this week spoke more loudly and more clearly than ever before. And my message today to Westminster is this: Scotland's voice will be heard in Westminster now more loudly than it has ever been before. And as we promised in the campaign, that strong voice will be a voice for more progressive politics. We will continue to seek to reach out to people of progressive opinion right across the UK so that we can put ending austerity.
So Nicola Sturgeon here showing her softer side after what was a very, very tough speech where she made it clear. She said in a conversation with David Cameron that it will not be business as usual with Scotland. Now, she was careful not to mention the referendum at all, though she said earlier in interviews that this particular election was not about another referendum. It was about making Scotland's voice heard in Westminster, and it's these MPs of hers, these first-time MPs, who will make that voice heard. And they are, of course, a very, very mixed bunch, many of them for the first time coming into Parliament, novices, but they've brought down some of the biggest political names in the landscape of British politics, and this is going to have a dramatic effect on British politics.
Did you at all expect a victory of this nature?
The scale of the victory, I think, is beyond my wildest expectations, but people in Scotland have placed their trust in the SNP to make Scotland's voice heard, and that's what we intend to do.
Almost as much a star at the event, Mhairi Black, who defeated the Labour Party's David Alexander from the Paisley seat. Alexander, tipped to be the next foreign minister had Labour won, had held that seat for almost 20 years.
So I'm joined by Mhairi Black, I hope I'm pronouncing your name.
Black, yes.
Mhairi Black,
Yep.
who is, many would consider one of the giant killers of this election. She brought down someone who's a Labour legend. I think he won last time with a majority of almost 16,000 votes.
Aye, something like that, yeah.
Many, many congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Mhairi, did you think it was going to happen?
Well, no, the reason why I'm in the SNP is because I think that they are the only party that are truly listening to Scotland and truly have the people of Scotland's interests at their heart. So I think that the reason we've seen such a swing of support in constituencies like my own but across Scotland is because the voters are recognising those same qualities.
And you're a student, is that right? You're a
Yeah,
you study political science, you're 20 years old?
Studying politics.
Politics?
And living it. But I've got one exam left at the end of the month, and then that's me graduated.
And how exactly did you campaign? Did you do door-to-door? What did you tell voters?
Yeah, well, just chatting as many doors as we possibly can, speaking to as many voters as we possibly could, just giving the message that Nicola's laid out throughout the whole campaign.
Are you intimidated about going to Westminster at all?
No, because I think that the people who should be worried are the politicians that have allowed so many people to suffer for so many years. So they're the ones that have to answer things.
So what are the Scots upset about? As we've just been hearing, one of the primary grievances seem to be about how public money is spent. Now, the Tories want austerity, they want to cut billions of dollars of public spending. The Scots don't want that. They want to be able to spend money on the social sector, on health and education and so on. They want to be able to control the finances, the earnings Scotland gets from things like oil and whiskey and tourism, and to be able to do that. Now, some of course question this, and they question the SNP's claims towards bringing down austerity. Others who defend it. Here are both sides of the debate.
Congratulations on a sensational victory. What's the next step from here? There's some concerns about whether will this lead to another referendum now?
We made clear in the election campaign that there was nothing that could be deduced from the outcome of this election that would lead to a second referendum. And we don't have plans to have a second referendum. People decided on the issue of independence in September. What this election has been about is about securing a strong voice for Scotland and making it crystal clear that our country is opposed to austerity.
Just in simple terms for our viewers back home who may not understand the nuances, the powers that you feel have been denied you, what would those be?
Those powers that we need are powers over Scotland's economy, to give us the ability to grow and to strengthen our economy, and as a consequence to create new economic opportunities for our people. That's what our Parliament needs to have, and that's what SNP MPs will try to secure.
I was reading somewhere that some of your critics say that the austerity measures that you're talking about, that your own austerity measures will be very similar to the ones implemented by the Conservative government, and you're just rolling them out in the longer time.
Well, we wanted to bring austerity to an end. We want to secure an increase in public expenditure, 0.5% in above inflation, and to secure that to improve the economic fortunes of Scotland, and that's what SNP MPs will argue for.
Last question, sir. That this talk that this will lead to the dismemberment of the United Kingdom, which creates a lot of tension in the southern part of England. What do you make of that?
I think the rhetoric of the Conservative Party during the election campaign has been a disgrace. And for a party that told people in Scotland that we mattered to them, that it was important we participated in the United Kingdom, some of the rhetoric that's been used by the Conservative Party is atrocious, and they should think long and hard about it.
Not all, however, are convinced that the SNP has a genuine basis for its grievance.
They don't know what they want. It is based on a utopian left-wing dream, totally bogus economics, which have been cleverly combined with a sort of residual nationalist feeling in Scotland. The SNP, the Scottish National Party's big achievement is to embed in Scottish nationalism a feeling that Scots are so different politically, because more left-wing than the rest of the UK, that they must have their own state. That is not true. There is no polling to suggest that actually Scots are terribly different from any other member of the British Isles. Nonetheless, that mythology is very powerful in Scottish politics right now.
And that's what is actually, you think, driving this whole sentiment?
That's what's driving that sentiment. There is probably a minority of Scots who want independence would admit that they're doing that for pure sort of, blood and in the guts nationalistic reasons. They will say that it is on a political premise. Scotland needs to be more left-wing because that's what its people want. We have broken with the rest of the UK in this regard, they'll say.
In concrete terms, does that mean that they expect there to be a greater welfare state, much more public spending? Is that the kind of thing we're talking about?
They think that they do. They talk as if they do. Their party, the SNP, talks as if that's what it wants and that's what it delivers. It's nonsense. Actually, if you look at what the SNP is doing in the devolved government in Scotland, they're spending less on the NHS than the rest of the UK is, or they're increasing spending on the NHS, the health service, by less than the British government in Westminster. And if you poll Scots on the size of the state, the function of the state, specific questions, they just come up like any other Briton. The whole thing is nonsense, but very, very powerful nonsense that could lead to the dismemberment of, I think, the most successful collection of nations in history.
By politics.
Coming up, voices from the street. The SNP says no referendum for now, but will the people of Scotland accept that?